Alright, y'all. Let's try something. Hello, people of the internet. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. SMCU release. It's happened again. aespa's... I don't know how to best describe this. Their action film series, in a way, based around the lore around the group, is finally here. Ep.3, titled Girls, Don't You Know I'm a Savage? In parentheses. The 17-minute film is out. And we're going to try and watch this here. Now, I say try not in the fear of copyright, but in the fear of me delivering something that's worth watching. So, let me get my insecurities out right away. My comfortable place when it comes to talking about stuff is music-based. If you've watched any of the past reaction videos I've done in the last, 4 or 5 months or so, my comfortable place is to talk about the music that goes on. So much so that I oftentimes forget to talk about the MV in a way, or how good the members look. Even though that's not necessarily part of my personality, that's besides the point. I mainly focus on the music, so much so that I forget the visuals are a thing. But once you take away the music aspect from it, I really don't know what to talk about, in a way. And that's kind of the reason why we don't watch too many variety shows here on the channel. We watch Image in Service, but that's purely because we get so much talk about music, both in terms of like musical theory or musical knowledge, or just talking about music in general, that there's stuff for me to talk about. But when it comes to variety content stuff, it's just going to be me sitting here laughing along, or just like making little comments here and there, and it's just, it doesn't really make a difference if you're watching it on your own, if you're watching along with me. That's the fear I have. In fact, I know it's an established fear because I tried watching Weekly Idol a couple weeks ago and I just couldn't talk over it at all. But we're going to try it again, this time with the aespa action film, because I'm very much intrigued to see where part 3 goes with the story, but also just to kind of like try and learn how to talk about non-music content like this, if that makes sense. So if this does seem like a fairly like low energy, I'm not contributing much to it, I sincerely apologize. I am trying to get better at it, but it's a learning process. But here we go. Get comfortable, because we got a long way to go. 17 minutes. I'm assuming there's credits within it, so probably be like 15, but okay. Oh, why am I nervous? I feel like I'm in a job interview again. That was yesterday. Okay, anyways. I'll try my best not to talk over too much of the like members talking and whatnot. Just make little comments here and there, but overall, let's just enjoy it. There'll be moments when I just zone out and just take in what's going on. If you want to watch the original, in the corner, in the description, as always. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hopefully the audio is okay for you all. If you need to adjust, feel free to do so. I'm going to turn it down on YouTube a little bit, because I know how loud these can get. I really hope aespa is doing alright. I know they've kind of been in a mess, even in and amongst the SM mess that's been going on recently with the Hive acquisition. But the fact that like they had their comeback delayed, I know that must have taken a toll on them.
큰 죄를 지었으며 너의 기억을 지우고 오직 광야를 감시하며 광야에서는 안 되고 너의 기억을 지우고 플랫을 벗어날 수 없다. 너의 임무 만약 플랫을 벗어난다면 힘을 잃고 말 것이다.
It's Jay from Stacy. No, I'm kidding. Hi, Novice. Interesting, we're starting with Novice backstory, because I feel like we've had no explanation of who Novice was until now. Also, oh, I'm loving the sound engineering for this. It's being treated as a film and not as an MV, and I love that. It's the little details.
싱크아웃을 일으킨 게
너야?
Also, peep the BGM. Do you hear that soundscape? How wide and rich that ground rumbling was. I think I quite enjoy this, like, overly, they're leaning heavy into this, like, cartoony, like, 3D modeled, landscape here. Also, I can't help but feel like I've heard this BGM before, used on, like, other works. Hold on. Continuity error? All that concrete. Little bit of continuity error there, I think. That's also me being picky, but it just looks cool, doesn't it? It's just visually cool. Even if it is a little bit cheesy, it does look cool. Yeah, now, like, at this point, they're just really leaning into, like, the cartoon superhero aesthetic, and, like, even though it's, like, the real life people within the scenes fighting the animated, like, enemies now, they are really leaning into the cartoon superhero, like, even, like, with the movements and stuff. Sound engineering is great. It's so wide, you can hear every little detail about all the action scenes. The energy's good too. You can tell that was a very high-paced, like, action-heavy fight scene just from the music. Also, we're not getting that much dialogue from the members. It's been a lot of movement, not much dialogue. I feel like we got a lot of dialogue in the past. Oh yes, the comic book vibes. These are some of my favorites. One thing I'm noticing so far, and this isn't really a critique against the members per se, but maybe the direction of it, but I feel like the facial emotions being depicted by just, like, everyone across the board has kind of been a little bit tamer than it should be. Like, you just got punched and thrown around by this super baddie, and you look like you're just waking up from a nap kind of thing. Like, I feel like there isn't that much, like, anguish being shown in their face considering, like, the situation they're in. Oh, is this Black Mamba
너희들이 한
backstory.
짓을 난 그대로 보여준 것뿐이다.
I know I don't usually pause on stuff like this, but I think this is a very good point in like the film to like stop and just talk, digest everything. Villain backstory. Deep-seated, distorted human desires is a brilliant concept. I'm going to relate it to Persona because I've been playing it recently. But deep-seated human desires is such a good way to, or such a good inspiration for a villain backstory. Because no matter like how distorted it is, like in its ultimate form, it is a human desire. Anyone can relate to it no matter how distorted it is, because once you filter it down into its core components, everyone can be like, oh yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. Like, regardless of how distorted the villain actually became from that core, like, human desire, it's still a human desire. And I think this villain trait, very good. I wish they would have given us more explanation, like, throughout the film, so we can, like, actually get to appreciate the villain a little bit more instead of it just being a snake that's taking over everything. But we'll go back a little bit.
짓을 한 거야? 루머, 사칭, 이간질, 악. 너희들이 한 짓을 난 그대로 보여준 것뿐이다.
And I think those specific traits of like the human traits that Black Mamba is like impersonating, I think hits harder considering that this is based around aespa and aespa performers who are more susceptible to stuff like this.
인간에게 아이들은 결국 소모품인 것뿐. 자신이 마음에 들지 않으면
And again, I think it's very similar to like commentary about how people perceive idols as just like entertainers and disposable instead of actually being people behind the entertainers as well. Okay, so now we're going along the lines of like sentient AI, which is in of itself a whole completely different ballpark. Also, I like the new art style here. It's different because we're getting full screen artwork instead of like the comic 4 cuts and things like that. Portal Warfare. What up, novice?
아이비스. 너는 플랫에서 벗어나면 안 되잖아.
도와주고 싶었어.
Oh. Key detail, foreshadowing. He's consuming a part of the human desire to take control of Black Mamba. I will give producers this. Visually, this is really good. It's really pretty. Like, the colors are really well done, things like that. Welcome back, Black Mamba. High-paced, rock-based boss battle music. This really is like a video game now. You defeated one phase of the final boss, now it's phase 2.
What are those? 서울? 스트라스부르크? 트럭? 도시 이름들이야. 알고리즘을 파악했어. 이걸 막으려면 이드! 나이비스! 싱크 다이브를 풀어줘. 리얼월드를 가야 돼.
가능하지만 다시 돌아오진 못해.
데이터를 막을 거야. 리얼월드에서. Gotta go. 도와줘.
뭔데 갑자기?
설명은 나중에. 지금 내가 보낸 지역들에 데이터를 다 막을 거야.
여기를 다? 아, 완전 어렵겠는데.
So?
당장 하자.
So are we getting possibly a new art style for this sequence? Because I'm liking this. It's very much it's less like print cartoon and more animated more like an anime type of art style. Not quite like it. But also the music. It's super high-paced percussion. You get the really in-your-face loud brass. Again, visual production done so well. The really bright, really contrasting colors.
닝닝, 데이터를 쏟아붓는 건 어때? 이드, 데이터를 막지 말고 이곳으로 다 유도해.
얼마나?
엑사바이트.
그건 로컬 데이터 센터라도 털어놨어. 이건 우리 수준을 완전 넘는다고. 추적될 거야.
방법이 없어.
무슨 일인지 몰라도 우선 해보자.
Did we ever learn who Ed was?
닝닝, 우린 준비됐어.
준비됐지, 마이? I'm ready.
Oh yes, the sound engineering. The way everything just died down and then surged back in, kind of like all the data that's being dumped into like Mamba. And phase 2 of the boss battle. If you know your video games, all boss battles come in forms of 3. Here we go, third phase. Weakened state, now just finish them off. Winter, where have you been? If you've had that the entire time, you should have. No, I'm kidding. Explosive finale, right? Superhero lunge. Running scene has to be a superhero lunge. There it is. I feel like, give me a little bit more emotion in that Karina, just a little bit more.
물어보고 싶은 게 있어. 응? 왜
Ooh,
처음 나한테 싱크 메시지를
animated
보냈던
Karina
거야?
with Karina instead of actual Karina. Interesting choice.
그냥 날 만나고 싶었어.
And is this kind of like the whole motif of the sentient AI thing kind of leaking in again? I know novice or the eyes are supposed to be independent, right? They're supposed to function independent from the host. And then novice gets the final killing blow. So, couldn't help but notice her arm was getting, like, the black smoke was building up further along her arm than it was before. So it must be kind of like that, because she can't go back anymore, right? So it's like she's putting her own life on the line for the aespa members and just consuming Black Mamba's negative energy now. But how is this going to play into her debut? Which I don't even know what that's going on with, but...
L'existence précède l'essence. We are facing an existence known as I. Created from my personal data, I's existence evolves and grows based on such data and can autonomously think without my judgment. A virtual counterpart growing together within people's memories and records. This is called I.
Giselle's English is so satisfying to listen to. Is that the end? We just have 3 minutes left. Oh? Hold up. God of all gods, Queen Boa? Okay, the stone isn't there anymore. Black Mamba's crumbling away, but... Right. Hi, Boa. Okay. That did not end how I thought it was going to end. At all. They defeated Black Mamba, which means this is probably going to be the end of, what do you call it, season 1, in a way. Like, that's kind of the major villain of this, like, little plot section's done. They've explained what eyes are. But they brought in Boa? Yeah, but also, there's, like, 2 minutes left. Let's see if there's end credits, end credits, end credits, end credits. Post-credit scene. Alright, what do we got? Is that... Yes, Embois. Is that how they're going to introduce Novice into the real world? Huh. Okay. Give me, like, 2 minutes? Well, for you it's going to be like a second, but give me 2 minutes to kind of process my thoughts into this, and I'll join back with you later and talk. Right. It is about 2 minutes later. I have refilled my water, and let's talk. First of all, the film is super intriguing, isn't it? It's shot and produced in a way where you're kind of just sucked into it 24/7. You're just, from the moment the aespa logo flashes on the screen to the end credits scene and the post credits scene, you're just locked in. That's a sign of a really well made film, I think. Like, there's, because it's so short in reference to, like, you know, standard length films and TV length films and so on, even dramas to an extent. These are short enough to where you don't really ever lose your attention span in a way. And they switch up whatever's going on screen just quick enough to where they don't give you any time to lose your attention span. You know, props to the producers on that. Also, the colors on this film are absolutely spectacular. They're just, if it's on a super dark aggressive scene, like kind of when Black Mamba is evolving into her, like, secondary snake form in a way, just the red and the blacks that are being used in it is so rich. And what's the opposite of vibrant? Because you can't really call black vibrant, but you get what I mean. Like, the blacks and the reds are so enhanced in that scene. All the little VFX, whether it be, you know, Giselle's little, like, mirror coat, like, screen things, or the little CGI effects with Karina's glove glinting on Winter's katana, or her grenade launcher she pulled out at the end of the Black Mamba boss fight, whether it's Novice herself. The CGI is, they're not trying to make it realistic, which I think is why it works. Like, they're completely playing on the fact that this is entirely, like, a sci-fi action film that's, like, blurring the lines between a real-life action film and a CGI action film. And I think that's really clever. I feel like 3 episodes for a plot is really short, though. It's like, ultimately, we only got about 45 minutes worth of plot, and they've killed off a villain already. Which, although having said that, I feel like I should be saying, why did it take them so long to go through 3 episodes just to kill off the main baddie in the series, considering aespa have been around for a long time now. Wasn't Black Mamba 2020? Or was it 2021, actually? I'm not so sure now. Spotify! aespa. Nope, Black Mamba. Yeah, Black Mamba was November 2020. So, this is their 3rd year now. And we've gotten 3 films in, like, what, 30 months? I feel like, I don't know if we should have gotten more or not, but if they're going to introduce a new villain, and they're going to, like, assuming that Boa is the new villain, which we'll talk about that in a second, but assuming Boa is, like, the new villain in a way, that means there has to be more, right? Unless they're going to expand the SMCU, like, cinematic universe outside of aespa, which in itself is a completely different topic that, you know what, let's just talk about it. First of all, Boa as a possible villain, not sure how I feel about that casting choice. Now, I think I should point out that it isn't inherently 100% crystal clear that Boa is the next villain. But the fact that she's walking down that chamber, the kind of the stage setting of that, like, chamber just screams sinister, like, villain vibes. And the fact that that stone statue of Black Mamba, she just happens to have a statue of Black Mamba at the end of said corridor. She walks up to it, it crumbles, and she turns red. Like, that just screams upcoming villain vibes for me, which is perfectly fine. Introduction of a villain probably means we're going to get more SMCU stuff, but also Boa? Like, Boa is like SM in a way. She's one of the most respected, like, idols within that company. She's been around for so long and she has so much respect from her peers and her hubeis that it just kind of feels weird putting her in as a villain role in a way, when in reality, like, all SM idols kind of look up to her in a way, because she is, like, SM's first child in a way, you know? So I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. And also the fact that they introduced Boa in this way very well could mean we're getting other SM artists involved in the cinematic universe, which is very interesting. If SM are going to go along this direction, you know, Hyber using webtoons, right, as a medium for their artists. Like, they've had their BTS webtoon, they have their TXT webtoon, they have their Enha webtoon, although they're under Belive, and they have their Le Sserafim webtoon, even though they're under Source. Like, Source? What are they? Who are they under? Who are Le Sserafim under? Oh my goodness, I can't remember now. But you get the point. Hybe are going down the webtoon route with their artists. Are SM gonna go into the cinematic world with their artists then? But then also, like, how is this whole Hybe acquisition of Isuman's shares going to affect this project? Because are Hybe just going to let SM run autonomously? Or, like, what is going to happen with that? And, like, the fact that this dropped alongside and, like, throughout the kind of tumultuous period that SM are in right now, very interesting stuff. Next point, they've killed off a major character in Novice. Or so we think, right? Because up until the end or post-credits scene, Novice was kaput, kind of. Novice, in a way, was this, you know, like, companion character in a way that kind of got brought in here and there, but we never really learned about her until this. And even if it kind of felt like a plot dump in a way, and a plot dump that didn't go into detail enough. So, like, you couldn't really appreciate the character as much. And I think that's another thing where it's It's another limitation they have with time constraints. It's the same thing with Black Mamba as a villain character, is that both Novice and Black Mamba as characters, we didn't get enough time to appreciate their backstories and understand their character in a way. They got placed in, we got all of their backgrounds dumped in at once within the exact same film, and they both got killed off. Which I feel like we could have introduced the backstory a little bit further back in the story, especially with someone kind of so prevalent as Novice in a way. Like Black Mamba with the villain, usually, villains do the whole big spiel once the final battle starts. Before all like the actual fighting starts, they tell their whole life story on how they got here, and then they battle it out, and in the end the villain loses. Exactly what happened here. But with Novice, we didn't get enough information and enough time to appreciate her, I think. All we know is that she failed her duties as some guardian of sorts, and that she got relegated to the flat, and her only one duty was to watch over Kwangya, and now she left the flat to save the aespa members, and she consumed Black Mamba's negative energy within herself to save the members, to trap and to make Black Mamba defeatable. The negative energy took over Novice. Novice ended up within the panel of the gods again, and now she wants to go to the real world. Like, there's a lot going on with Novice as a character that I feel like we didn't really get introduced to enough. But the Black Mamba villain arc, I can very much appreciate. Distorted human desires is a very good way to portray a villain arc. I'm going to spoil Persona for you. For those of you who haven't played and are interested, I recommend you tune off now. I'll see you in the next one. But Persona villains are always designed around a distorted human desire, whether it be lust or greed or the idea and fear of death. Things like that. And they make it so that you as a person playing the game and battling this enemy can relate and understand why the villain got to that point with just a little short interaction they have. That's the beauty of human desires, is that no matter who you are, you can relate to it in some way, shape, or form, no matter how distorted it is. And to be fair, Black Mamba and like her character arc and her character background and where her like negative energy comes from isn't really distorted. It's very cut and dry in terms of like where it's coming from. And it potentially could be, and most likely is, just a commentary on like the negative side of K-pop fans in a way, where K-pop fans kind of just like brainlessly talk down about certain idols, about like their appearances, about their performances, and like their looks. They'll bash them against other artists, and they're essentially treated as kind of like a verbal and like, social media punching bag in a way. And all the fans really care about is their music at a surface level, and that's about it. It's either that or they take things way too far. And that's kind of like the whole premise behind Black Mamba's energy, is that negative side around the K-pop industry. And I think that's a very clever way of just kind of providing like social commentary in a way. It's like, it's a different take of what Yunjin's doing with her solo stuff. Like I doesn't equal doll, that song was like another example of like, commentary about the K-pop industry and the fans surrounding it. And I'm not saying all fans are like that, but I think aespa in particular are prone to be targeted by a lot of these antis in a way. It's like, I feel like they were one of the main groups that got just absolutely trashed on for using pre-recorded tracks on live performances. They constantly get bashed about visuals, about their music, about their personalities, and how people think it's not genuine, things like that. It's like, aespa really do get thrown around by antis, and while I don't stand them per se, like, I follow their music very closely, and I appreciate the personalities and the people behind the artists. But regardless of if you follow them or not, you can't help but feel bad once you really clock onto just how much abuse they've endured. And they haven't been around for a long time. Coming up to 3 years is a decently long time. But I feel like they've been getting a big chunk of the abuse in the fourth gen world, and it makes me sad because, frankly, no one deserves the amount of hatred that goes around in K-pop. And for some reason, aespa just broods that negativity. It's not like they're going and asking for it. It's just the antis just flock there, and I don't understand it. I don't understand the whole anti sentiment. I don't know. It really is a well-made project, though. I have some questions, but it's a very well-made project, and I think I was going to say I'm looking forward to where the next stage of the cinematic world is going to go, but I'm more excited about their music, which I mentioned, I think, in this reaction. If I didn't, I'm going to mention it now, but the next comeback got delayed. Like, I know SM was kind of going through a messy time and stuff, but like, these are kind of like your money makers at this point. Like, it's like you kind of feel bad for them in a way because it's completely out of their control, like what's going on with the higher ups in the company, and they're made to suffer for all the mess that the execs are going through, and it's frankly not fair. And hopefully they get that well-deserved comeback, because Girls was too long ago. When was Girls? Girls was July. So it's been coming up to 6 months. No, coming up to 7 months. And sure, we had the Christmas song with Red Velvet, but like, aespa, they need a solo comeback. Like, they need a good solo comeback. And their music doesn't usually miss for me. So, I'm very much looking forward to it, whenever that is. Because, god damn it, SM, get your shit together. But, anyways, that's it for me today. I've rambled a lot today. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for watching. Again, leave your feedback below on how I should approach these things. I'm still very much unsure on how I should approach these types of videos and things like that, because I want to watch more variety stuff that isn't music oriented. Like when my favorite groups go on shows like Weekly Idol or make radio appearances and stuff like that. I want to spend some time in watching that, especially with like Game Caterers and other reality stuff coming around the corner. But I just don't feel confident in myself to be able to talk about this stuff yet. So if you could just let me know what you think, what I could improve on, things like that, I would be greatly appreciated. And that's it from me today. Thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy and want to see more, channel icon is up there. Find the back catalog of stuff I watched in the past. If you want music reactions, you can find them over there as well. Subscribe if you want to keep up to date with whenever I upload new videos. And if you want to watch another video of mine right away, most likely going to be a music related one, YouTube recommends you watch that one down there. And until next time, bye bye.